Today, we're jumping into the phrase be specific, but don't elaborate. It's almost becoming the trademark of this channel. And what it really means, let's discuss. Hey, before we get started, listen, down in the description is two different links. One, you're going to find the link to Getting Started Workshop. It's a short workshop that's going to walk you through each stage of the hiring process so you're not going in blind. Plus, there's a bunch of hidden bonuses in there, such as practice exams and a few other things that will really get you off on the right foot, or if you're already in the process, help you get past maybe some of those hurdles. Additionally, speaking of hurdles, if you have something specific to your hiring process, to your background, to your poly, to anything you want to discuss, jump on a free coaching call with myself. I'd be glad to take some time out of the day, sit down, discuss it with you, and hopefully get you through where you need to be. Now, be specific, but don't elaborate. What do I mean by this? So what does that mean? Sometimes I've had individuals say, hey, yeah, you just want me to not say everything. That's not the truth, right? What I want you to do is actually tell the truth, but I want you to be specific about it. I don't want you to go off onto tangents and going to all these crazy details that will just open up doors that you don't want to open up. And then whether it's with your background investigator or your poly, or worst case scenario is your psych, and they will poke and prod and pull on that thread until there's just nothing left of you. So be specific, don't elaborate. That doesn't mean lie. That doesn't mean lie by omission. And if that's what you think it means, you're wrong. Just flat out, you're wrong. The goal here is to put good officers on the street, but to help you all get out of your own way so that you don't make mistakes that will get you pushed aside as a candidate and then have someone else selected. You're a good candidate, but at the same point in time, you can talk yourself out of a position just by elaborating on things that aren't actually true. And I've said this, a lot of people that have had one-on-ones with me have heard me say, hey, there's a difference between being overt and being honest. If you just say, hey, if I put everything out there and I'm just completely honest, but then you go into these opinionated elaborations, that's not actually being honest. You're actually just putting a perspective on it from your perspective, and that might not necessarily be the truth. And I can unpack that a little bit more later on. But be specific, don't elaborate. Let's look at a couple psych questions, right? Let's go down a couple easy ones. We'll start with, do you like to read mechanic magazines? True or false, right? If you don't like reading mechanic magazines, or you don't read mechanic magazines, that would be false, right? So say you circle false. All right, do you like to read romance novels? And then you circle false. Nope, I don't like to read romance novels. Do you like to read crime novels, right? Crime and mystery novels, or crime and mystery books? No. Okay. Then you get in front of the psychologist and it says, hey, I see that you don't enjoy literature, right? You don't enjoy reading. And then you're thinking to yourself, oh man, was that a test? Did I fail something? Was that a trick? Were those trick questions, those question correlations? No, I enjoyed to read. Why do you say that? Well, I see that you didn't mark true to any of the questions on your exam stating that you enjoy reading. Oh, no, I just don't enjoy reading those genres. Okay, great. So you just opened up the door, right? You just opened up the door saying, I don't enjoy reading those genres, which is the best way you could put it. Oh, okay. Well, what type of genres do you enjoy reading? I enjoy reading fantasy novels. Okay, so you enjoy reading fantasy novels. What do you enjoy reading about fantasy novels, right? And I'm playing both roles here, right? The examiner and the candidate. Oh, I really enjoy the fact that there's a hero and that it is more science fiction, and it's just something that I really enjoy, the fact that there's a hero that wins and succeeds. Oh, okay. So what is it that draws you to that? Well, I've always just pictured myself as being the character in the novel, and it's just really good. Oh, so you want to be a hero? Okay. And then you think, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. So sure. Yeah. I mean, I could see myself being here. So have you always had a hero complex, right? You see where this starts taking a dark turn, right, for your psychological exam. So you've always had a hero complex? Oh, well, I don't have a hero complex. Well, you were just saying based on your fantasy novels that you really enjoy this. No, that's not the case. It's more along the lines of I just like that it's really out in a whole different world, and it's not anything that's in this world. Well, okay, let's unpack that. Well, why do you feel that you enjoy fantasy worlds more than reality? Right? All those things. You see how that took a dark turn right there? And it started with a mechanic magazine, right? Do you like to read mechanic magazines? No. Do you like to read romantic novels? No. Do you like to read crime and mystery stories? No. And not next thing we're here with you have a hero complex and you're not based in reality. That's now I'm being dramatic here, but that's how quickly it can turn with just elaborating. If I'm answering those questions and a psychologist comes kind of asks me, do you not enjoy literature? No, I really enjoy literature. I love reading. Well, what do you like to read? I'm a huge fan of like autobiographies and history. I'm a huge fan of history and autobiographies. Well, what do you like about them? I like the fact that it's just nonfiction. I'm a big nonfiction fan. It intrigues me to learn about things. Well, why does it intrigue? I'm passionate about learning. Well, what makes you passionate about learning? I don't know. I enjoy it. It's all I can say is I enjoy it. I like learning about history. I like learning about people. It's just I like knowledge. Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's move on to the next question. And then it just transitions to that. I'm not over here explaining, hey, yeah, I love a fantasy world and I love the hero story and I like to interject myself into the hero story. No, I'm not saying all that. And I'm not telling you to be vague either. But I'm sitting here saying is don't over elaborate on these questions, right? And it doesn't have to be even with psychologists. It could be with anybody. So keep that in mind. Be specific, don't elaborate. Now, when I tell you this, let's back up here. When I tell you this, we're going back to the lies by omission. When I say be specific, I always want you to tell the truth, right? If you've used an illegal substance, tell the truth. If you have a hurdle in your background, tell the truth. If your work history is not great, tell the truth. If you have a speeding ticket in the past, tell the truth. But don't try to elaborate with some crazy story that says, well, yeah, I was speeding, but I think the cop was lying. So that's why I fought it in court. But of course, they took the cop's word over top of my word. That's a horrible thing to say to a detective who's running your background investigation is the cop. I mean, I'm not saying that there's not bad cops out there, but I'm just telling you, you're applying for a position as a law enforcement officer. So be specific. Don't elaborate. If I were to ask you, and you can do this right now, right? Actually, write your answers down in the comment, right? If I were to ask you, what's your greatest weakness, right? Or what's your greatest strength? Pick whichever one you want to answer, right? Answer it down in the comment. How are you going to answer that? Remember, be specific, but don't elaborate. The greatest strength thing you could probably elaborate a little bit on because you had a chance to sell yourself. But the greatest weakness question, how would you elaborate that? Or how would you answer that without elaborating? There we go. Excuse me. How would you answer that? What's your greatest weakness? How would you answer that without elaborating? Now, I'm not going to give you my answer. I actually have in other videos, so you can go back and watch them. But I want to hear your answers down in the comment. That way I can see if any of this is hitting home for anybody. So you get asked these questions, you come up to it, or say that you put something down on your background packet and your background investigator actually says, hey, elaborate on this for me. What do? Well, you tell the specifics of it, but you don't go into detail. And what do I mean? Okay, let's take a scenario I've had before. Let's say you've used marijuana in the past, right? If you have, it's no big deal. If you haven't, don't worry. Just simulate, right? Scenario-based question here. Let's say you've used marijuana in the past and you're putting it down on your PHS or PHQ, whatever you want to call it, and you are filling it out and you mark, yes, I've used marijuana. And then it says explain such circumstances. And then you put in there, I didn't know I was using marijuana. My friend slipped it to me, right? Or my friends tricked me into taking it. And I've seen this multiple times on multiple backgrounds. I mean, probably over 100 background packets, I've seen that exact same answer. And then you ask the person to, hey, tell me about this. Oh, well, I was at a party and I didn't realize, but they had marijuana in these edibles, and my friend gave it to me, and they were playing a joke on me, and I ate it, and then they told me afterwards, but I wanted to be upfront and honest, but I really had nothing to do with it. It was completely my friend's fault, and I would have never done it had they not, tricked me. That's elaborating, right? That is elaborating at its finest, opposed to just marking you've consumed marijuana. The time is I consume marijuana, a small amount of marijuana in an edible at a barbecue, right? And then that's it. That's your description of it. And then you get into your background event or your background investigation interview, and they say, hey, elaborate on this. What happened? I was at a barbecue. There was brownies or whatever. It doesn't matter. There was this food. I consumed that food. It had marijuana in it. To be honest, I actually didn't know at the time, but that doesn't matter. I just wanted to be honest and put this down. That is being specific, because you could slip in there that's more believable if I hear that story. I can't tell you how many times I've dismissed a candidate just because they try to come up with this story of oh, I didn't mean to, I tripped and marijuana fell in my mouth, right? I can't tell you how many times I've heard this. So you don't want to go down that route, because if we're just going to think you're lying when we're reviewing it, and then we're just going to move your name to the bottom of the pile, and we're not going to focus on you, right? And that's where you get those long periods of not hearing anything from the departments, and that's because they're either pursuing other candidates, and they're saying, hey, let's keep this candidate on the books just in case, but they're pursuing other candidates. And then you still might hear from them down the line, but it'll be down the line once they've exhausted all other options. Opposed to, yep, consumed marijuana. It was in an edible format. It was at a barbecue. I actually didn't know until later when my friends told me, but it is what it is. So I just wanted to make sure I was honest and put it down. That's specific. That's it. If they go into more detail and ask you to elaborate further, you just tell them, hey, that's the meat and potatoes of it. There was nothing else there. They might ask, how are you commonly at parties with this? And your answer to that would just be like, I didn't even know that marijuana was at the party. But once again, I'm not trying to make excuses. It's just, that's how it is. Instead of going into that, it was my friend's fault. They actually tricked me. It was intentional. No, don't do that. We're not going to buy it. Doesn't even matter if it's true. Just own it, right? Just own it and move on. Especially if it's something significantly far in your past and you have no other real major background hurdles. So be specific, don't elaborate. I hope these stories and these analogies have given you a little bit more insight into how to answer. A lot of the members in our coaching memberships are much better at articulating this after they go through some coaching and things like that. So for you, same thing, practice, go through some questions, Google some questions or whatever, reach out to me. I'll run you through some questions and you can see how you do on it and evaluate yourself. Am I elaborating? So kind of keep that in mind. All right. And that being said, those gifts are down in the description. So if you do want to reach out to me, just sign up for that one-on-one coaching call. It's down in the description, whether you're watching here on YouTube or listening on the podcast, and just click on it. It'll take you right over, sign up for a time that works for you, and it's no cost to you. Also, that workshop, the free workshop, Getting Started workshop, is down in the description as well. It's going to walk you through each stage of the hiring process so you have more in-depth knowledge. You're not going in blind, and you're getting a bunch of tips and tricks plus all the hidden bonuses. Stay safe, and I will see you next time.